from around the nation. So introductions, let's go around and introduce ourselves. You guys kind of already know me, so blah. We'll go on to the next person. Who would like to go next?
Hello, I can go next. My name is Tim Miller. I'm a retired Scoutmaster of Troop 33, and I am a present Cub Master of Pack 23 in Silver Spring, Maryland.
My name is Curt Dennis. I have been a Scoutmaster for a scout troop prior to becoming Cub Master and AOL Den Leader for a pack here in Columbus, Ohio.
I'm Amanda Kirby. I am in Chesterfield, Virginia. I am the current committee chair for Pack 2835. I'm also starting to get involved with Troop 2886, and there was talk of I have experience with fundraising, so I'm going to be kind of like co-chair to the district.
Oh, that's really cool. Congrats.
Oh, so sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Paula.
I'm Paula Berghauser. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, and actually I belong to the Diocesan of Cleveland Catholic Scouting, and I belong to national programs where I promote scouting to non-scouting units. So, and I have been a committee chair for Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts, and venturing. So that's what I'm bringing to the table.
Awesome, welcome. So let's, I wanted to like share really quickly, because anybody who has done the sorry, where did Zoom go? Anybody that has, done a crossover, this is the whole goal today, is to kind of talk about different ideas. Someone who couldn't be here today was Nick, and he's gonna come on next week. So, there'll be another chance to talk about how you guys are doing scouting. They did their crossover recently, and this is a picture of that. I thought this was really cool and unique. I love the way they did the lighting on the bridge. So I wanted to check in and see like what you guys have done and what your ideas are. And if you sorry. Go ahead and ask me. It's okay, honey. Go ahead and ask me questions in the chat too, and we can try to answer them. But who wants to go first with like what you guys have done for crossovers?
I can go. We did our crossover shortly after the pandemic had hit. So we had, I know a lot of people typically do it like in February. In March, we had some instances where all AOLs weren't able to get a lot of requirements, so we pushed it to further in the spring, and then the pandemic hit. But luckily it was towards the beginning of the pandemic, so the restrictions weren't that much. It was like groups of 50 and social distance and mask and all of that. So we had planned to do it outside, and since we are in Virginia, of course the lovely weather you can never predict, and it started to rain when we were going the night we had planned for it. Luckily the church we met at has like a covering type thing, so we just kind of condensed it and moved to under the covering. And then for ours this year, we're still in the planning stages, but we're gonna do hopefully something similar. Obviously February, it's gonna be a little cold, so I think we're gonna push it again to a little further in the spring and hope for nicer weather and no rain. But we had I have pictures. I don't know if I can share my screen or not, but we had the scouts lined up, and we're wearing mask, and let's see, I'm trying to figure out how to do.
I made you co-host, so you should be able to share.
Okay.
Also, Tim, I know, Tim, you have to get going fairly shortly. So if you want to come on and talk while she's finding the pictures too.
Yeah, that will be fine.
Yep. Hi. We had our scouts were running a little bit behind as well, so we let them get all of their requirements done by the end of August. So we actually did our crossover in September. And we the kids that were crossing over to a new church, this church had really big parking lots, and so we did our crossover drive-in style, like drive-in movie style. And so we set up a couple canopies in the front where we did the announcing and talked about everything, and all the den leaders came up and talked about their dens. We held off on giving out the awards until the very end, because we had one place where the cars came in and then one place where the cars left. And so as the cars left, we handed out all of the kids' awards to each car as they went by. And it worked out really great, and everybody had a good time. They could either stay in their car or put a blanket out in front of their car to watch the whole ceremony, and I think it worked out great.
I love the idea of a drive-in, but your pack is much smaller than mine, so there are the advantages there.
Yes, correct. We had how many kids? We had 4 scouts that crossed over, but we had about 45 in our pack. But really, since COVID, we've only have about 25 to 30 that are active. So, but other people promised to come back after the COVID.
Yeah, I think we're having the same thing. So, Amanda, this is you sharing, right?
Yes.
And Tim, if you have pictures too later on, let me know and I'll share them, because that sounds like a really, really cool idea for a drive-in.
Will do.
So this was like all arrow. I think I have to show each one individually. But that was all arrow of light, and then we had the scouts, each scout lit one of the candles and did the reading. This is them doing the reading, and then we had them line up, and kind of, we weren't able to do the actual bridge because you can kind of tell in this picture, but it was kind of starting to rain a little bit harder, so we weren't able to use the bridge, but we just kind of use the sidewalk, so to speak, as the bridge. So we're hoping this year we'll be able to actually get them to walk across the bridge, and the ones that have stayed within the same troop, we're going, even though they're already part of the troop, this year we're going to let them kind of redo last year, so to speak, and let them actually walk across the bridge kind of a year late.
Well, that will be interesting to see how you do that. I know. Careful, okay. Sorry, he's moving the table and then it's movable. It's actually really not a bad idea to bring back the scouts, like to have them walk over. How are you doing your bridge? Is it like a something you built, or is it like
the bridge is just like a little wooden bridge that was built before I was there, and we've just kind of kept it in good condition so it can be reused. It's not that big, and it's nothing fancy, but it's still like a little curved bridge that can be walked over.
I like that. Easy to carry too. I like that. We have one like that too. The scout, the Cub Master before me actually made one a couple years ago and etched in every part of the scout law on every part of it. But it's small, like what you're saying. And I actually like that a lot better, because if you're not doing it, and it's actually perfect for a year like this, because if you have to do it outside for any reason because of COVID, then you can easily, take it and make it portable. Okay, Paula and actually, I wanted to answer Paula's question really fast, because she asked me a question, and I didn't want to like completely forget that you asked me the question. First off, Tim. Yeah, so Tim says, sorry, I have to go. Very nice meeting you all. If you have any questions for me, drop them below and I will get them to him. By the way, Tim, I have an extra box, and no joke, you can see right there, all the Girl Scout cookies. I have an extra box of tag-alongs for you.
Okay.
So you can have 3, not 2.
All right. Thanks. Talk to you all later. Good luck with your packs and troops.
Talk to you later, Tim. Have a good afternoon. Have fun moving stuff from one church to the other.
So I'm a firm believer in really personalizing each ceremony for the group of kids that are crossing over, because each group's a little bit different. Some of the scouts like to get up in front and take part and do speaking roles or something along those lines, and other ones are other groups are shy, or part of the group is shy. So I usually come up with different roles for each of the scouts. Last year, we got our crossover in before we were shut down with the pandemic. And so we were able to have a somewhat normal AOL crossover. And then our rank ups and all that graduation for all the other dens happened during the summer. We waited until we could do it outside and do it socially distanced. And what we did was instead of doing a full drive-in movie thing, we did a drive-by where in one entrance of the parking lot, they came in, they drove around, and then when they got around to the other side, during their time for their den, they stopped. The parents and the scout got out of the car, and we did a special ceremony that lasted about 5 minutes for each scout. And so it really personalized it for each scout. I led the ceremony, and then each den leader got to speak. So that could be something that is done with an AOL crossover as well, if you have really strict restrictions wherever you're at. So then afterwards, we had prepackaged treats that were made by a baker, with all the COVID restrictions in place, in juice boxes, so that, because typically we have like a cake or cupcakes or something like that, but so that things weren't being handled, we kind of pared that down a little bit, but the kids still received that celebration type thing after they got their awards. This year, with our AOL crossover is getting ready to happen in our pack here in about 5 or 6 weeks in March. Well, I'm in Ohio, and the first Sunday in March may be snowy, and it may be sunny and 60 degrees. We don't know. And we may not even know till Sunday morning, because the weather changes in Ohio very fast, it seems like. And so my plan is to do a very socially distanced ceremony, to have each of the kids come up with their parents one at a time, to give them their rank badge, the parents pin, and then to present their arrow plaque with that we've dressed up the arrow like we normally do. But this year I made sure we put some feathers and stuff on there, so with beads to symbolize different things, so that they could so it was a little bit dressier than what we've done in the past. So we've done some things like that to help really kind of spice up the ceremony, since it'll be a little bit more scaled down than in the past. So that's what we're doing in our pack.
I would love to see the template that you have where you did, the 5 minutes for each scout, because that sounds like actually really, really cool.
Yeah, I can send you that script on. I think I still have that saved. But it was really nice to make it individual for each scout, and they got their own time. And then we have a bridge that we normally use for AOL crossovers, but we also used it for our rank promotion at that time too. So we allowed the tiger to cross over the bridge, and we took off their old neckerchief, put it in a bin, and then they got a brand new neckerchief on the other side that their parents put on them. So it was clean, it hadn't been contaminated and all that. New slide. So they got to cross over that bridge to symbolize moving over. And as they did, I asked them, you did a great job as a tiger, but are you ready for the challenges that come with being a wolf and working on those wolf requirements? It's a little bit more difficult. Are you ready? Are you ready to make that commitment? And each of them had to say, yes, I'm ready, and I'm ready for the adventure. And so it worked out really well.
Good job. That's a really a good point. I think for us, we leave it up to the den leader usually on how they want to run it. Because again, like you said, they know their boys best. So some years we've had where each scout individually goes, yes, we are ready. And we've had other years, especially when we've had our mega dens of like 20 kids, they all say it together that they're ready to move on. The nice thing I like about doing it your way when it's during the pandemic is you can actually have it be more individualized, and usually like each scout's scouting experience is a little bit different. And so for them to have the ability to take a little bit more ownership, especially as they're going into the older scouting program, I think that's like super important.
And even afterwards, the one for our big pack event where all the dens were moving up and everything, the ones that didn't show up, that couldn't make that day, myself and usually one or two other leaders went to each house to do the ceremony at somebody's house when they were available as well. At the time we had a pack of over almost 60 kids, and I had to go to anywhere between 15 and 20 houses that didn't make the ceremony. And but it gave that personal touch. Each individual scout, they still got their ceremony. Now I didn't take the bridge with me, but they each got their own personal ceremony, which was nice.
That's a really cool idea. See, I would love for you to share a little bit more how you did that as well, because I think again, like that at least even for any pack, that goes above and beyond.
Yeah,
so
it does, but I think it's a small amount of time that really shows that you care then. So I'll let Paula talk, and then we can head back to that if people want to.
Okay, go ahead, Paula.
Okay, so I'm in Cleveland, Ohio, and I'm in Lake Erie Council, and we cover at least 3 counties. So depending upon which county you are in, depends upon what is going on. Usually, Cuyahoga, we're in the purple zone, so that means we don't get to do anything. So my home pack and troop is the Catholic Church as a sponsor. The Catholic churches in our diocese, which is all 3 counties, they're all open, but nobody is having outside groups in. Okay, so everything's virtual at the moment. They usually have their crossover in February, and usually what happens, it's the huge blue and gold dinner, and the Boy Scout troop is invited. And what happens is everyone gets promoted up at their ranks, and then the kids that are crossing that bridge, there's an actual bridge brought in that was built by Boy Scouts, and they're walked over the bridge with their parents. They get their new neckerchiefs and their books and everything, and they are welcomed by every kid out of the troop that's going to accept them. Okay, so this year What are they doing? Well, it depends upon, once again, which county you're in and what day of the week it is, because right this very minute, we can meet in groups of 10. So that means you can have 2 adults and 8 kids, right? So what they're thinking about is doing a parking lot kind of ceremony. Even though it's 20 degrees outside right now, but you know, we're in Cleveland, so it's a warm 20, right? They're thinking about going to each kid's house and doing that kind of ceremony and dragging and having other Boy Scouts meet up with them and do it in their garage kind of thing, you know? So at this point, they're still trying to figure out the best practice to do it. We do have 2 camps in Lake Erie Council in 2 different counties on east and west side, and they're open. They just reopened. So it's possible they'll go out there. We do have a lot of natural outdoors here, and you could actually go outside and do the bridge somewhere like that. So at this moment, we're still discerning what are we doing, how are we doing it? Because like you said, sometimes you're reds, a lot of times you're purple, and my county seems to be purple a lot, but 1 mile from my house, they're okay. So that's what we're doing.
We're very, very similar. So I am the Cub Master for Pack 33 in Tacoma Park, but we have a lot of DC residents as well. And so we have to go by both guidances. And we default obviously to Montgomery County, but Montgomery County and DC are usually always the same. So we can't like have huge groups of people, and our pack is like one of the largest in our district. I'm sorry if you hear music, that's my son playing video games and watching videos. My older son, not my younger one.
Oh, my heel.
You are right there. And so normally we reserve the church gym, and it's a huge thing, and there's hundreds of people there. Obviously we can't do that. At the last February, well, actually we normally bridge in March. So last early March, so I think we bumped it up a week. We did a ceremony just with the den, and then we had the Scoutmaster and the PLC come out from Troop 33, and they helped with doing the crossover. And so they did like a little slideshow, and you know, they showed like memories from the last 5 years, and then they walked across the bridge, and then they were given the neckerchief. And at that point, this was before everything was like, yes, we're in a pandemic, everything's locked down, but we did it ahead of time just for precaution. Hey, Jessica. But what we did is like the Boy Scouts, which they normally, I don't know if it's the same in your packs and troops, but they normally, the Boy Scouts, the one who takes off the neckerchief and, you know, takes off the neckerchief slide and puts on. So that they would take off, say like the Weebelo one, and sorry, wrong one. They would put this one, this like that red one, that's our troop one right there. So the scout in the troop would actually put that on them. This one right here was actually from the balloon gold from when this one right here crossed over. And we normally do leader gifts too, and I don't know how people are doing that. Like I have right here because, you know, in good spirit. This actually was, we were talking about compasses the other day too. So I actually have a compass on this one, but this was one that my Boy Scouts gave to me, or my now Scouts BSA Boy Scouts in Troop 33 gave me when they crossed over. And so like it's a walking stick with all of their signatures on it. And one of them, this one right here, he actually moved to England. It's not open. It will be if I don't take care of it though. So I'm putting it back so it doesn't fit. But do you guys do leader gifts? Like, do you guys have a presentation of leader gifts during the pandemic at all?
Yeah, we've done a couple different things for our AOL leaders that were leaving the troop, or from the pack to the troop. We gave them knives that were engraved with their name and Pack 103 on the blade, so that they had that with them for as they moved across. It was a useful tool, kind of like the walking stick, you know, something useful. We've had the kids, the scouts, take like camp chairs and sign their names to camp chairs, because as you cross over as a leader over to Boy Scouts or Scouts BSA, you're supposed to be more back, relaxed, sitting at the campfire. And so a camp chair with everybody's signature on it. And on the back of it, I wrote, go ask your SPL. And so it was kind of one of those fun gifts that really strikes the meaning for the kids, I think, as they're signing it and they see the go ask your SPL. We've talked about it as an AOL, but here, after they cross over, reality is they're not going to the adults. They should be going to their patrol leader and then the SPL if they need further help. And so I think that kind of hits home. So we tend to do a couple different things like that. A gift from the kids, from the scouts to their leaders, and also from the pack to these leaders. Our last year, our gifts to all the other den leaders at our regular graduation type ceremony at the end of the year was we printed off these on paper, cardboard, these keys, and it said the key to success, and we gave them a keychain that had a Cub Scout quote on there as well, so that they could carry that keychain with them to remind them of what they've been doing, and that it does help, and they're serving a good purpose.
I like that a lot. Did you, with our, and Paula and Amanda, totally feel free to chime in anytime. I know with our din, we had, when he was crossing over, it was, I think that we had just begun the new program. So I think he was still doing that. But what we did is we broke them into 2 patrols for the entire year. So they had a real good understanding of what at least the patrol method was. So when they crossed over, it was a lot easier for them, for the very reason you're saying. Because once you cross over, like, you are part of a patrol. But do they cross over immediately into a patrol for you guys? Or is it decided later?
It's been done a bunch of different ways. And this year's probably going to be a little bit different due to the pandemic and group sizes of 10 and less, like Paula mentioned. Typically, they would cross over and they would be their own group, and they'd have a troop guide with them. And they would start working on those scout skills. This year, like our AOLs, we did do patrol leader elections. We worked on that patrol method as we could meet outdoors. We've had to do some virtual meetings in December, so kind of got away from that a little bit. But when they crossed over to the troop this year, it looks like the troop has decided to split up all the boys so that there was older boys, middle boys, and younger boys all in like 2 or 3 different patrols right now. That seems to be working a little bit better with them. So that's how they're probably going to work this year. But hopefully we get back to that. All the boys stay together, they cross over, and they have a troop guide at the troop. That's how it's supposed to work. And that's how we'd like to see it continue once this pandemic kind of clears up a little bit.
In our troop, what they do is the kids move over all together, and they're welcomed by everyone in the troop that's there that day. And then their next meeting, which is a Monday night, they go immediately into a patrol, and they have a guide. And then at the end of that month, they go on their first camp out. And so at that camp out, it's a cabin camp out, and all their parents are invited also, so they can learn what's going on. And what happens is usually what happens, all the parents hang out, drink coffee, and they get talked to. They get trainings and stuff like that. All the kids with their with the older boys and stuff, they are schlepped out into the mud and learn basic scout skills. And because we're in Cleveland, they go out to the camp. There's usually is mud if there's not snow. So when I say schlep and mud, that's what they're doing.
And
It's
Paula,
No
that
flights.
Paula, that is key to get them out camping that right away after they cross over. Even though they don't have all the skills that they might need, that's why they're joining Boy Scouts. They and scouting in general. They want to be in outdoors, and getting them out there in that first troop camp out, whether it's in a cabin, a tent, or whatever, is so critical.
They do have some kind of unofficial award who brings home the most mud
That's nice.
in their gear and their
I like
food
that.
and clothes.
The award is a mud pie. What's up, Amanda? Did you want to say something?
Oh, I was just gonna say ours is we tend to be on the smaller pack size. Before the pandemic, our total pack was 36. And then after recharter, we were down to 32. And then this year for recharter, we're down to 12. So we always tend to be one of the smaller packs, and typically have anywhere from 3 to 5 AOLs. So we do a kind of shortened version of the patrol. We kind of hit the main ones, but talk about how everything's done. And in the past, we've gotten adults to be kind of like stand-in scouts, so the AOLs can see how a true election is done for like voting and all of the different positions. And then also the they go camping shortly after crossing over, and typically the first camping is at the local camp, where they have somebody that works with the scouts to go through different things that are basic things, such as like starting a fire and like the axe yard. And we go through how to make a meal, and obviously with the pandemic we couldn't really do that, but we kind of verbalized, okay, if there's 4 boys, how much food would you need, and just kind of got them, even though they couldn't physically do it, just kind of talking through how it would be done.
I like that touching on doing the scout skills right before and right after is really important, because a lot of the times the skills that they're learning at AOL year, when they go into the Scouts BSA, some of it's repeated, but some of it's not. And Paula, go ahead.
So sorry, go ahead. I'll raise my hand next time. So go ahead, you were saying.
No, go ahead. You can say what you're gonna say.
Our day camps, they have I don't know what it's called this week, but they have equivalent to Weeblos camp at day camps, where Boy Scouts are out there teaching them stuff already. So they goes, oh, you don't get to do this right this moment, but you're going to get to learn some basics now, because one day this is what you're going to do. So when they move into that troop, then a lot of our Weeblos already know how to do it. They're just like waiting to get their badges and their rank.
One of the things that I did in the fall with my AOL den, I was filling in as den leader. He had to quit at the end of last year. So I took over as AOL den leader because I had the experience as a scoutmaster and that at the scout troop level. So I took over. But one of the things that I did was I did a couple cooking meetings where we didn't even work on any AOL requirements or anything. We just worked on cooking skills, how to light the propane stove, how to make sure the stove's turned off when you're done, how to flip pancakes. We did a breakfast, and even though we were meeting in the afternoon, we did a full breakfast with pancakes and eggs and sausage and bacon and the whole works. And they had to manage how to keep everything working and get everything done at roughly the same time. And then we did another one where it was a dinner type thing where they did grilled cheese and soup and stuff like that. So they learned that there's more to camping and than just hamburgers and hot dogs. They worked on a lot of those skills that they would need when they first cross over. So I think it's critical, besides just working on requirements. And I know we're getting off topic of the crossovers, but I think it's critical that they start learning those skills, especially even during pandemic times. Those can be done in small groups, and that's what we did.
No, actually, we did, but it's not just AOL year. I think I've shared it before, but if not, I'll see if I can find it again. So we do a competition because, again, we're large enough that we're able to do that with every single den. And so every camp out, they compete for what's called the golden spatula. And it's not just whoever can actually make the cooking requirement, or make an edible meal. It's whoever can come up with the coolest, craziest theme. And it's really they go all out. We've had a whole Halloween thing where people bring decorations, and I sat next to a skeleton eating my breakfast. So we try to incorporate it in a really fun way. And as we go on into the Webelow and Arrow of Light years, it gets a little bit more. We try to do that, but have them focus it on the requirements. So like the cast iron chef and the things that they have to learn. I don't know that we've done, my son is a Webelow, so I don't have experience trying to do the pandemic in terms of during the, doing that particular requirement during the pandemic right now, but I could imagine that there was, right now, there was a way to do it, even if we had to do it virtually, where we got every family involved. Which I think is actually really important too, because then we can't assume that every family that is part of our scouting family knows how to camp, right? Just because we do as leaders doesn't mean that everybody does. And by the way, if you're watching, welcome. If you want to put questions in the comments, feel free to. And Curt and Paula, I also made it to where you guys can share as well. So Paula, I wanted to answer your question because you had a question about my name and how I have it written. So I wanted to answer that for you. I told you I would do it live because there's actually a really important thing behind it. So anyone who doesn't know, if you have, your name and then you have she/her or him, it or them or they, it has to do with your pronouns and how you get addressed. Because we have, and this is different units, not just Cub Scouts or Scouts BSA. I'm sorry, my curtain is red, so that's why it looks red in here now. But we have some of them who do not want to be addressed as he or she. So we try to be just mindful of that. And so I've just gotten into the habit of just always putting she, her. When I was sorry that my son's gonna now play with lights.
I'm trying to do the opposite.
It'll be fun.
I'm trying to do the opposite of one.
It's okay. It'll be fun. Yeah. I'll just be changing colors. But that's why, Paula. But there was interesting a comment that you made about the crossover ceremony, which I thought was interesting, and you can change it. It's fine. That I thought was interesting, which is that you cross over everybody at the same time. In our pack, we cross over everybody else but the Arrow of Lights at the end of the year in June. And then we cross over everybody who's an Arrow of Light in February or March, usually around the early March time frame. So right after Pinewood Derby. So I was curious, Curt and Amanda, what you guys do too. And if you share what you do below too, because I don't know if what we do is common.
That we do it like you do. Our AOLs cross over usually the first weekend in March, and then the rest of the pack we have do our rank promotion at the end of May or the first part of June usually, because there's some that like to keep working on electives, and it works. It goes through the rest of the school year and then everybody's ranking up at the same time.
Yeah, we do the same. The AOLs crossover end of February, beginning of March, and then everybody else is typically we do a camping trip the first weekend in June, and then we do awards by the campfire on Saturday night for everybody else.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it, Amanda. Our pack, we try to put our awards crossover at the end of the year with our May camp out. So that works really well, doing it around a campfire. The kids like it. You can add some different elements to it as opposed to just a normal crossover back at your chartered organization or wherever you meet at.
I will tell you, at our blue and gold, where everything's done at one time, we have like a lot of dens, we have about 50 to 70 kids all the time plus. And so they have brag tables in the back of the room where they put out stuff that they've done all year round. So they can share and brag about, well, we did this and we did that, it's very cool. Shortly after the blue and gold, probably about 2 months later, then they all go to a family camp out. And that's where they start, it's more the end of April going into May, welcoming all the families, including the new Tiger kids too. And that's usually just big family camp, and all the Boy Scouts are going there too. So it's for everybody.
That might be a good topic for another meeting too. Is how are people with big packs handling campouts? Because when we go camping, we're about 50 scouts, and then when you add in siblings and parents, we can be anywhere from 125 to 150 or more camping, and that's just not possible right now during a pandemic. And so I'd love to have a meeting like this to talk about what people are doing for camping when they're a large group. Packs that are smaller, Amanda, now that you're down to 12, it makes it a little bit easier for you for camping type stuff. But I've got a camp out in April and one in May, and with our Cub Scout pack, and I'm still trying to figure out how we're going to make that work, because our council, we're Simon Kenton Council, and they're saying that we're supposed to keep groups to 10 less and not intermingle. So that's going to be difficult.
Yeah.
It's funny that you say that. It would actually be awesome to have a live just for that. So being smaller, definitely has its benefits, Amanda. For ours, I've been a huge advocate of trying to get the Webelos and Arrow of Lights also, to help be there, because it's important for the rest of the kids in the pack to see the older scouts, to get a little bit more of a lead. It prepares them for Scouts BSA. But we got so large that we don't actually fit at campsites unless we kind of have to break it into two. And so now we have it where Webelos and Arrow of Lights camp on their own, and they're allowed to do a little bit more, than the younger boys are, which is always going to be fun for me because I got double the campouts to go on. But it makes it would be an interesting conversation to have. I agree, Curt, because I would like to be able to have everybody there in some capacity.
How big is your pack?
Depending, before the pandemic, before the crossovers, we've swung up to 80 something kids before. Right now, after we lost the first set of AOL boys because they crossed over, we went down and we were at 60 because about 20 kids crossed over. And I think we rechartered about 55 to 60 currently. But it's been harder because we've been mostly all virtual. And we actually have a first aider who happens to be a doctor. So we've been, who I hope to have on, because I know she'll be watching this at some point, because she's really awesome, and have her on and talk about stuff. But she was right now it's just going to be hard given the sizes of our groups. Our dens are different sizes. It just makes things a little bit more complicated. For our crossover right now this year, we're going to be having a meeting, and I think right now we're leaning towards postponing it a little bit for two reasons. One, because of the Pinewood Derby. That's something that every scout looks forward to every year. And given the current way things are, we cannot run an indoor Pinewood Derby before they cross over.
And
so we're going to doing it with the district, and so we're waiting for that, and for a smoother crossover.
I think you'll like my idea on this, and I will tell you that it was an awesome event. What we did, because our Pinewood Derby is typically in February, and we couldn't have everybody indoors, we moved our packed Pinewood Derby to May so that we could do it outside. And it's still before the district Pinewood Derby, so that everybody that wins can still go on to the district. But that left out the AOLs, right? So what we did was we did a AOL Scouts BSA crossover Pinewood Derby. So we did a special event for just the AOLs and the Scouts BSA, and they got to race against each other. And we did trophies for the AOLs, and we gave trophies for the Scouts BSA, and they got to race against each other. I will tell you that the Scouts BSA, one, they loved it, because they were like, oh my God, I get to build a Pinewood Derby car. And they actually built their Pinewood Derby cars, which was phenomenal to see these Scouts BSA kids that came and they put in time and effort on their Pinewood Derby cars. And then the AOLs did a great job, and we hosted it virtually. I had 4 different camera angles set up. They dropped off the cars at my house. I had the track set up in my basement, and with a couple other leaders, a couple of my assistant cub masters, we ran it with 4 cameras, and they all got to participate in a Pinewood Derby. But it was an event that went off so well and was so they're still talking about it, that I think we're going to continue that in the future, because it's a great crossover event for the 2 groups, and it really brings the AOLs closer to the Scouts BSA. And I'm looking forward to having that in person next year, but doing a separate event for them. And now the AOL winner can come back to our big pack event for the runoff for all the dens, and to go for that big pack trophy at the end. It was a good event, so I thought I'd mention that, because I think that might be something that might be right up your alley.
That sounds really cool. I think the Scouts would really enjoy that, because I know when they cross over, one thing they love doing is the Pinewood Derby, and not all packs do the Klondike Derby. So that would actually, like, that's a really, really cool idea. Especially since some Scouts BSA have never done them.
Yeah, and some kids joined Scouts, and they didn't join as a Cub Scout, so they never got to do a Pinewood car. So the Scout troop they did patrol meetings where they brought in the tools to do a cutting workshop. So they helped the kids cut their cars still, and then the kids worked on them at home, and we had a big participation from the Scout troop, and our AOLs, I think, enjoyed the competition between them and the older boys.
I like that a lot.
We are actually doing our Pinewood Derby virtually tomorrow. We typically meet on Wednesday nights. So this week was called drop off, where the cars were weighed and everything. And last week we had a pit night where if you needed help, you could come in and get help, and the track was set up so you could test run, so our AOLs could still be involved. And then like you said, we'll hopeful when the weather is warmer and we can meet all together, because right now we're still at that 10-person restriction, that we can either hold an indoor one or do, if we have to, a social distance outdoor one. But we are in talks with the troop to see if the troop wants to do cars for when we do it in the spring, and kind of run it as kind of like a mini building bridge between the pack and the troop.
I like that. I mean, it's hard because we don't know how, like, I say Boy Scouts because you know, because I'm an ASM for Scouts VSA troop too, so it helps me to differentiate them in my brain. But my son's troop, it's really large, so I don't know how successful it would be in having them be part of it. But I'm curious if the Scouts VSA could, because it's a small troop. So I might actually think about asking that. I mean, they're going on their camp out this weekend. But yeah, no, I feel like there's benefit, I think, and personally, in holding off on the crossover right now, because it helps scouts who have been struggling with rank to be able to catch up if they need it. And at least for our pack, they'll be able to, like, you know, participate in the district derby as a Cub Scout. But if they end up choosing a crossover earlier, like, we're gonna be like, yes, welcome back. You can, like, run your car. We're not gonna stop them from being able to do that. But it would be, for me, I think it would be easier on the troop as well in terms of managing new scouts, because we talk about, okay, like on the Cub Scout side, what it takes to get them there. But sometimes we forget, and you know, Curt, you've been a Scoutmaster as well, so you could speak to this. Like, when they cross over, like getting them to scout rank, getting them acclimated to a new culture, a new scout culture, it's a little bit tougher to do when it's all done virtually. And so, like, the hope is that will be more than just 10 people, right? So by the time we get to spring, you know, if we're able to meet a little bit more, then we have more capacity. No worries, Amanda. Amanda says, I have to get, thank you for having me. I have to go, my son has to get on the Zoom at 5. No worries. I was actually going to mention the time in just a few minutes. But I'll throw you a snowball this weekend. I don't know if you're getting the same amount of snow we are, but are you in CAC as well?
I'm in Chesterfield, Virginia, so all snow total for Sunday we're right on the line for 2 to 4 and 4 to 6 inches.
Oh, that means the DC went higher then, right?
For us, it always depends on how it comes over the mountains, is pretty much. So we either get like a little dusting or we get slammed, and they can make all the predictions, but it seems that they never know until it's actually here.
I don't think we're too far away from each other. I think you're in the same council I am. I think you're in National Capital Area.
I am Heart of Virginia Council, Arrowhead District.
Ah, okay. So you're just one right below us.
Yeah.
Well, welcome. I'll throw you a snowball from DC, okay? You can throw one from Virginia. Have a good one.
Quick to share with you real fast is the Boy Scout. A whole bunch of Boy Scouts live in my neighborhood, okay? Because they have, they may not be all the same patrol, but across the street from my house, they gather in the guy's front yard. They've done flag raisings and flags, and it was like really cool because it happened around Memorial Day when it started. But randomly, you see them out there doing stuff with tents and stuff like that, and in my neighbor's front yard, and then all of a sudden you see the books come out and people are, you know, signing books off and moving on. So that's something they're doing too, is people are meeting in little baby groups. So
I'm hoping to get my scouts to be able to do that soon, where they can actually go on, you know, hikes. I know, and we're talking about Cub Scouts, but at least in my Girl Scout troop, I can't, like, I have to manage everybody. And I have scouts that are actually immune suppressed, and we do in our Cub Scout pack too. So we're trying to be super mindful of everybody in the process, and it's been a little bit tough. I'm really, we've left it up to where as a pack, we don't meet all together. That's the other big part of it. But we made the decision that up until recently, when things were getting really bad again, is that DINs can make their individual decisions as long as they're being safe, as long as like health forms and like all of that stuff is in, you know, we're good, you know. And I think we're gonna go back to that again, and we revisit it every couple of weeks about, you know, what the local CDC says, you know, getting our first aider who has, you know, her expertise as a doctor and all that kind of stuff. I'm hoping she's hoping by, like, you know, late spring we'll be in a much better position, because I would rather give them a whole amazing program, all, as much as we could stick to normal as possible, than to make it harder for everybody involved. But if we have to, I love the idea of being able to go, even, door to door. And Paula, I love the idea, but it's so hard because at least where we live, I'm the Cub Master and I live like quite a ways away from where most people are in the pack. And our pack is becoming more of a hybrid between those in Montgomery County and those in DC. So I'm a DC resident running
What I can
a
tell,
Maryland pack.
we have 2 high school kids living down that way and a middle schooler. And then the little boy across the street, I guess he's a middle schooler now though, because he just maybe the 2nd year scout. And there's some other kids wandering in from down the street. So they're walking in and stuff. So I don't think they're all the same patrol. They just happen to live within walking distance of each other. I think that's what's happening.
That is really cool. I think we have a lot that do. And don't worry, it actually looks really cool. You got like a little halo effect. It's cute. I like it. It makes me feel better for my son sitting here and like playing with the lights,
We started before the pandemic even hit. We had started up a hiking club in our pack, and the kids, after 10 miles, the kids earned a hiking stick, and then they earned beads to go on the paracord that is on for the handle, like you have on yours there. So they could earn beads for every 5 to 10 miles afterwards. And then at like 50 miles, they're going to get a patch and some other stuff. We've got it all worked out, but the hiking club, I was glad that we had that in place, because during the pandemic, it is allowed, even when the pandemic first hit, we were allowed to be outdoors and you were able to go hiking. And so we were able to kind of socially distance those hikes and make those work. And that was an activity that kind of kept the pack kind of feeling like we were still together, even though at times we were totally virtual otherwise.
I wonder if I could do something with a crossover and somehow mix that with geocaching. I know that sounds kind of like a crazy idea, but it'd be really cool. Like if you can't meet in person, to do something super duper creative where they have to like go on like a little like hunt for things, or
yeah, like a little scavenger hunt.
Mm-hmm.
The kids are really into like I know they like the escape rooms and stuff like that. And so you could, instead of being an escape room, you could have it as a thing where you have to, if you want to reach crossover, you got to make to all these different things.
That sounds
like
great.
Solve the clues. It would be kind of cool.
I like that a lot. I think if you were making it scouting related, you have to keep it either that or put people in teams, because I know sometimes we have, and I don't know if you guys have this in your packs, we'll have, every once in a while someone join right at the last year or even halfway through the last year. And so that's another thing with crossovers. My other advice, because I had it when my older sons crossed over. We had a scout that joined literally a couple months before we crossed over, and so I had talked to him like, you're totally welcome to join. You will be part of the amazing experience that is scouting, but you would have a lot to make up to make rank. So you have one of two options. You can work on the rank, until you can actually until you hit the next grade level and then go in a little bit later, or you can cross over with all of the boys. And either way, we'll have you cross over and like no one's going to really know the difference for you, in terms of the rank. We'll make it work, Yeah. But he actually ended up choosing to actually just cross over and just to enjoy the experience as it is. Yeah. So that would be my other advice to all the leaders is like, if you have scouts that necessarily don't make rank, but they don't really care about the rank, you can explain the importance of, oh, well, if you, later on in, many years from now, if you become a leader, you'll get to wear that Arrow of Light, patch. You can explain that to them. See, someone has, way more years than I do in scouting.
I've got over 30 some years as a scout myself, and then I became an adult leader as soon as I turned 18. So I'm almost at 30 years of an adult leader. So I've held almost every position there is to hold, and I enjoy doing it. Even before I had kids, when my wife and I got married, They used to call her Mrs. Scoutmaster, and when people asked her, "Do you have any kids?" and she'd say, "Yeah, I have 35 kids," and they're like, "What?" And she's like, "Yeah, they're all my kids because he's the Scoutmaster." So yeah, it was. When we met, I was already doing scouting, so I told her it was a big part, and it was going to continue. And then we had our son, and my son's actually part of the inaugural Lion group that next year will be crossing over to Scouts BSA. They were in the first, he was part of the first group of Lions in that pilot year. And so he'll be the first group to go all the way from Lions through AOL.
I just got goosies when you said that. Wow, they're already crossing over. Wow.
Next year, yep.
Oh, you know, that is totally right. Because I remember like it was
growing older,
when
not
he was
us, just let you know.
Yeah, just the kids are going older, not us. Yeah, that's right.
No, that's where he's going to be sitting back with his shades, you know, with his top that says "Ask Your SPL."
Yeah.
No, I don't know. Like it'll be really, really interesting to see how crossovers go this year. I mean, the other thing that I think about too is we have some scouts that, like, even as Cub Master, I haven't met in person, right? Because we have new scouts. I just met two of my Girl Scouts who are super active, right? And their son is in, or their brother is in my Cub Scout pack. So I've met the girls. I have not even still yet met the Cub Scout. So I think, like, again, like we're trying to like get creative with how we do things, but try to defer a little bit out. Just for ease of transition for the kids as well.
I think it's the key is for all leaders that watch this later, if you've made it this far in the video, the key is to be flexible and to make it fun. Still make it fun and make it unique. This has been a once in a lifetime scouting experience for everybody. None of us have been through a pandemic before. And so this is a time to just make it unique and make it special for these kids that are crossing over.
Speaking of which, I'm doing this for my Girl Scouts. This one happens to be from when my son crossed over. So some of these, the boys that put stuff in here, they're already live. Like several of them are. They're racing towards Eagle. So, you know, stay in if you're a den leader, you know, like take a little bit of a break. That's my advice. But you'll see that they'll come up and they'll be like, oh, guess what? I'm gonna make rank first. And then you have the other scout go, no, I am. And they both go up for the border review the same night. It's actually really fun. And it's a friendly competition. It's, you know, no one gets hurt. But so we have like in here, so you could do this, like do a time capsule. I have yet to bury this like in the backyard, but I will eventually. You can actually do a time capsule where they each get to put something in. So like, I don't know how like well you can see this, but like we've got a candle from the ceremony, like one of the candles. One of the neckerchiefs. This was made. He at the time he was just one of the parents, and then now he's the Cub Master before me. He is like really good at making neckerchief slides. Someone put in a yo-yo. I'm like trying to like wonder what everybody put in here. Someone I think put in one of the neckerchiefs, one of these ones right here. And this one right here, like it's hard to see it. And I would take it down, but then everything else would come down right now. It has, you know how I told you they broke into 2 patrols? This is another really cool idea for a gift for the boys. And they can even do it virtually. So they basically designed patrol flags while they were in their patrols as arrow of lights. And then what we did is we took both of those flags and we combined them together. And then we put the pack number on the inside. So it was the, I'm trying to remember real quick. This is the Timber Rattlers and the Sea Otter Patrol. And then so it almost looks like a yin yang. And that I think was like about $15 each. So they're not extraordinarily expensive to get. Unless you want to do like a bajillion colors. But I suggest that you do this. I'm doing this with my Girl Scouts, but you can even do where you make, here, listen. And Samantha, I'm gonna plug you again. She is a scout leader.
You don't have to bury it. You just need to put it in a box in your basement. The same concept.
Yeah.
That's a really good point, especially because we get raccoons all the time.
Because you're gonna put it away for later, and then one day someone will find it.
Exactly.
Just like everything else when you put it away. Where did my keys go? I don't know. I will eventually find them.
There you go.
But you can always get like a mask made with their unit number, like this one. So like, and then you can put that even in a time capsule, because this would be a really cool thing to put in there with like the troop number on it. And Samantha, if you're there, you can comment below and let them know they can contact you. But this is a really good idea as a crossover gift too. Because a lot of times, and I don't know about you guys, maybe it's just we're unique, but I think that most packs have like a brother or sister of troop.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so like then they would keep the same.
In our town, there's only one Scouts BSA troop, so there's not a lot of option there if you want to stay somewhat close. If you're in some of the other towns right around us, there's some that have 2-3 different scout troops right around there, so you kind of have a choice. And so I was in one of those towns when I was Scoutmaster, and I always recommended for the boys to visit 2, 3, 4 different troops to kind of get a feel for how that troop operates, because not every troop's for every kid. And just because your other fellow AOLs are crossing over to a certain troop doesn't mean that may not be the best troop for you. But if you cross over and you didn't like it, feel free to check out another troop. And it doesn't cost anything to transfer. You can transfer that year and keep going. But there's a lot of times I'd find that I'd have kids transfer into our troop from other ones, and they were just like, that troop just wasn't for me. I didn't like how this was done or that. And that you're going to find that with almost every boy or girl.
No, that's very, very true. I mean, ours, we normally just have them cross over because that's been tradition.
Mm-hmm.
But we like, for me, I've always said, if you find something that works for you, go with that, and then for me, like, you're still part of the scouting family. It's that bad analogy, but it's like when you get married, oh, you're in, sorry. You're stuck with for life. But this is our patch.
I always said, I don't care if you join our troop or not. I just want you to join scouting and keep scouting. So just keep doing the program, because I think you'll really enjoy it because as Cubs, everything's handed to you. As you move on, you're gonna develop those leadership skills and really get to experience what scouting's all about with High Adventure and other programs out there.
When I think that's the biggest thing. I think like right now I feel bad for the Webelos and Arrow of Lights, because they usually have, this is the time that they have to experience more of like what's going on, like the High Adventure, go camping as just their den and all that stuff. And we just have not had that this year. At least not in our pack and our troop.
My AOL then actually got to go camping with the Scouts BSA back in the first weekend of October, thankfully. And so it was a good experience for them. They did a Webelos in the Woods type program, and it was a great camp out. And I had 5 out of 7 go, and they all had a blast. And I think that they realized that there's a lot more of this coming up, and we just got to get through these tough times with the pandemic, and then we'll be good.
I really want to do a camping one, because camping one that you were talking about, because I think we just all do it so differently, and I really want to do it, but I want to make it work for everybody.
Yeah, I definitely I think it would be a great topic. I'd definitely be willing to sit in on that one. I know for us, I've got ideas just running around in my head, and I'd love to hear other people, because like I'm thinking about even cooking as dens as opposed to cooking as a pack like we normally do. We do a big meal and everybody just goes through the line and the adults serve out the food, which is fine COVID wise, but it's you got everybody together. And I think if we can split it up like the troop does with dens, I think we might be in a little bit better shape. But just a bunch of ideas. I think it would be a great topic.
They do. I know with like our Scouts BSA troop, because they've been camping every month, and like in the beginning, it was really, really, really strict. Like you had to bring everything for yourself. Like there was your own food, your own everything. And they gave you instructions how to do it. And now like they're doing more of the patrol method again, where like we just became big enough in Scouts BSA. Ciao, Paula. It was nice to talk to you. I mean, we're gonna finish up here.
Yeah, because I got to go too. But yeah.
Oh yeah, me too. I have like my kitchen ceiling I have to go take care of, which sounds totally weird, but house stuff. But we have like where we just became big enough in our Scouts BSA troop to split into 2 different patrols, so they're finally being able to like plan a camp out menu and all of that stuff. But they're being so incredibly careful, and it is much different than what we are normally used to. I think where we talk about Scouts BSA versus Cubs though is just that we're talking about preteens and teenagers and little kids, and I think that's the biggest difference. You know, like the preteens and the teens, they've been pretty good about learning that they can't be like within 6 feet and all that kind of stuff. When you get to Cub Scouts, it's a completely different story. And there was one more thing I wanted to share because I'm really excited, and it just made my Friday like completely. So I don't know if you knew this. The guiding and the scouting movement have actually been nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. It's so awesome. It means that what we do matters, and I love it.
That's awesome.
I mean, it mattered anyways, but that was just a great way to like to start and end my Friday. Like it's just so beautiful. I love it.
Yeah.
But no, thank you so much for being a part of this. I think there's a lot that it's interesting to see how we're all really similar, but we do things differently.
Yeah.
In how we do it.
I love that it spurs ideas, and sharing ideas is critical, especially during this time, because everybody needs a little bit of help, and there's no point in reinventing the wheel.
Exactly. I want to learn how to do the drive-in one because that might be a little bit more feasible. I'm hoping again to get to the point where we can at least do it somewhat in person, even if it's just the den.
Yep.
You know, because even before, like we normally do handshakes, didn't do that. We did elbow bumps, you know. But even now we wouldn't do that. We'd be like, hey, here's your patch.
Yeah, we had everything prepackaged in a Ziploc bag, and then handed that bag to the parent, and then they took the rank patch out and pinned it on their scout, and then they handed the parent pin from the bag to the scout to pin onto the parent. So everything in their new neckerchief was already in that bag. So everything was already in a Ziploc bag and prepackaged, so nobody had to touch anything, so that we could kind of keep the spread down if anybody did have COVID. So.
Well, it makes it nice because if someone comes up and they like don't want to do that whole part of it because they're that nervous, they could just like take the bag and be like, peace out. Like, you know, like, so yeah, I like it. I like that because it leaves open opportunity for each. And then it's really easy. Like you said, if you had scouts that didn't show up.
Yeah.
I really want to see how you did that because that's really cool.
And then that was pretty obvious because each bag had the scout's name on it. So then we knew who didn't show up, and those were the ones we had to go to the houses. So.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see in the next year or two how it translates over to activity in scouting. I think we're like those people that dropped off are going to end up coming back.
Yeah.
So.
I hope so. We didn't lose many, but I'm hoping that the packs that did, they're able to get those scouts back.
I know, like for us, we didn't have as big of a loss as Amanda did, but we had like 10 that were like, okay, we're not going to do it this year, but we'll come back when the world is sane again, you know, like when we can meet in person, because the idea of sticking your kid in front of a computer is just really hard.
I think those are just going to be personal phone calls that are going to have to be made, and just say, hey, we're back to meeting in person. We'd love to have you back, and we hope you can come check us out and see what we're doing in person now.
The other, that's true. I like that idea too for the parents that I'm gonna put on the den leaders though. I got enough work. But I mean, the other idea that I might do is if we do like the small, like just the den crossover with a couple of the Boy Scouts, is to do like a live in our Facebook group. So that way those that want to watch the boys crossover and be there in spirit and like they can comment or whatever.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we're definitely doing a Facebook Live with it too.
Yeah, ours we probably will end up doing just in the group. I would be surprised if our parents would be okay with us doing it live on the page. It just kind of depends on the parents in the pack.
Yeah, ours will be private, or we may even just film it and then upload it to our private YouTube channel and share the link. So I don't know, we haven't figured that out yet.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm not the only one that does that, because we just have a private group just for the parents, just because it's a lot easier that way.
Yeah,
and like you said, some don't feel comfortable. I know some packs have public ones, but
we have both. We have a public one and a private one, so that we don't share any pictures of kids or anything on our public one. We don't put much out there except if we're having a recruiting event or something like that, or a community type event that we're helping at. But the private one is just for parents and stuff like that. So
that's where you can be like, I'm calling you out. No, just kidding. No, like it's like, but they feel more comfortable if like they're in that setting to be able to share like a picture. We did that. We actually set up the Facebook group for our pack that way, because what we did is when we had to do the virtual camp out, or the first virtual camp out, we said, okay, when you do this, because a lot of people had huge backyards they could camp in. So, or they could camp underneath their kitchen table, in their living room, however they wanted to do the virtual camp out, and then they just uploaded the pictures there. So like we could do something similar with the crossover where we air it and then people can write like congratulations or whatever and then post it to that video, so the scouts can go back later and see it.
Exactly.
Which is still memorable.
Yeah.
But no, this was great. I'll post something for doing one for the camping specifically, because I think that would be a really good one.
Yep.
And that one I like because you can actually get different kinds of units on there.
Yeah.
Because I'm daring enough to put all of my my unit stuff up all at the same time. And this is here all the time, by the way. This is all real stuff for the scouts. But yeah, no. So
well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it, and
no problem.
Look forward to the next time.
Oh, absolutely. Have a beautiful afternoon. Stay warm. I think it's colder there than it is here. And it's below.
It's pretty cold.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Ciao. Hey everybody, All About Scouts. Thanks for watching. You can drop your questions below, and Curt, Beth, Amanda, Tim, and Pamela, we can all answer your questions that you post below, like if you watch us, even after we are done going live. We also have the giveaway, which is linked, so that way you can get a little bit extra percentage off on when you go to the Scout store. And yeah, I want to say thank you and have a beautiful afternoon, and enjoy, if you're on the East Coast, enjoy the snow this weekend. Yay. And don't forget, if you haven't yet, the best time to be prepared for a snowstorm, cookies. Who needs anything else besides cookies for a snowstorm? I don't know. Anyway, I will talk to you soon, and I will reach out to some of you who reached out to me about doing a community live for Girl Scouts, because I think that representing both and talking about both is really super important. Anyway, have a beautiful weekend, and I will talk to you guys later. Ciao.